What up, my freaks? RuinusInsight here with part 34 of my Total War Warhammer 3 modded Archaon the Everchosen campaign. So as we saw last time, the end is nigh. 10 turns until the end game begins, or at the very least the Orky end game begins. Can't say how many turns until the Ulthuan and Empire of Undeath end games, but those are drawing very close as well. We're definitely in the latter portion of the campaign now. Still a lot of stuff to do, a lot of fun to be had, and a lot of units to try out. The campaign can't last forever. Still, as long as their interest of the campaign, as long as the interest remains, the campaign will go on. Anyway, Valkia had herself a very nice battle at Cleric Spire, finally destroying the exiles of Nehek, and Village had himself a very nice battle as well at Barakavar, wherein he faced off against Wurzag as well as the remnants of Skarsnik's forces, or that big garrison belonging to Skarsnik. And by the looks of it, Village is liable to fight again this episode, as there's a bunch of gobos here, and I somehow doubt that we're going to be able to auto-resolve those, though we'll see. Now, more importantly than that, Chant here has been waiting to fight for quite a while now, and will be moving in to Lieras. In fact, I think that's the first thing we'll do. We'll do it right now. Head towards Lieras, sir, and we'll see what we're working with. Alright, well, that's not good. Bone Giant and Necropolis Knights, that's a big ol' army. That's a big ol' army. But we can't not land. We're going to have to risk it. We're going to have to try to destroy this army without taking too much damage, and then probably survive an immediate attack from the second. And the Bone Giant as well as the bigger units are definitely going to be a problem for this army, as it's not really built to handle non-blobs of units, but nonetheless, it is what it is, and we've no choice but to fight. What do we have in this army? Can't tell. Okay. And Valiant defeat again. Yeah, Chant, he's having a fairly tough time entering the foray, but nonetheless, he's going to have to earn his place among the legends. What do we have here? Legion of the Asp. Okay, a bunch of skeleton chariots, though those shouldn't be a problem for the doggos. The Casket of Souls is going to be a major issue due to its range, being able to outrange everything we have artillery-wise. So we're going to have to deploy in such a way that it hopefully can't fire. Interesting. Wow. And on top of all that, once again, we have to do this in such a way where we don't suffer so much damage that this army right beside us destroys us. Interesting times, if nothing else. Anyway, before we get started, we did once again reach the engagement threshold, and the hour-long streak continues. Man, whoever tries to break Archaon's record is going to have a pretty tough time of it, I would wager. It was already tough breaking Lewin's record, and, well, Archie is looking even tougher. Anyway, the offer stands, 250 likes and 45 comments, and the next episode will be an hour long as well. Away we go. Let's see if Chant survives these two fights. Alrighty, here we go. This guy is named Chant for chanting is what his forces do as they perform their great ritual to create or summon a demon prince of Nurgle. And the only way that we can achieve that is through sacrifice, through death, through achieving or acquiring the favor of Nurgle. So, well, we gotta win and we gotta survive. And it's going to be a toughie for Chant, especially with his 51 leadership on all of those units of Marauders, which is going to be a pretty big issue. We have low leadership on the various Skaven units as well, and, well, pretty much everything in this army. Man, even the Nehekar warriors are up to 68. Yikes. Alright, well, we'll see if we can pull it off. We move our Hounds of Decay in first, and their leadership is actually also quite low. But hopefully they can dish out plenty of damage to the enemy Nehekara horsemen and chariots. Especially with a little bit of help from our Lord, who has stopped an enemy unit of chariots to prevent it, hopefully, from charging our rear lines and heavily damaging the, or killing outright, the Plague Claw catapults or the rattling guns. And speaking of the rattling guns, looks like a unit of Carrion has decided not to move directly towards them, but instead to go for the Marauders, which were protecting the rattlings. That's just fine, however, as the Carrion suffered about 20, well, more like 40% in damage before they did. Unfortunately, it looks like one of our units of Hounds is about to rout, so we're going to move in with Mr. Chant here and help them out by providing his leadership aura, as well as casting a little bit to help out. The Miasma of Pestilence will reduce the enemy's melee attack capabilities and thus prevent them from hurting our doggos any further. Speaking of doggos, we do have others deployed. They were hidden here and have now moved out. One to hit an enemy skeleton chariot and the other to hopefully destroy this Casket of Souls before it does too much damage. Fortunately, due to the fact that our 4 soul grinders were out front, the enemy was wasting most of their shots from their screaming skulls and their caskets on said soul grinders, which has, by and large, been a waste. The Soul Grinders and the various Plague Claws alike are firing upon the masses of infantry that are heading towards us, and we absolutely need these guys whittled down heavily, ideally completely decimated before they reach us, as obviously we can't expect our Marauders to hold the line for particularly long. And here we go. Hopefully this will help hold, as the enemies had at least one unit softened up enough to allow us to summon our Chaos Spawn and hopefully hold some of those infantry units back. The main enemy infantry line has not yet reached us, though it looks like a few of the fast movers have managed to move out ahead. The enemy lord, a Tomb Prince, some Nehekara horses, and some skeleton chariots will be moving in to engage our soul grinders in combat and prevent them from firing any further. But at the very least, our Plague Claw catapults remain safe, and for the nonce, at least, our units of Marauders are still holding. And though it remains to be seen how long that will last. Unfortunately, it looks like one of our Hounds of Decay units has begun to rout, though it should heal up as it moves away. As long as it doesn't get off of the battlefield, we'll be okay. Chant is still attempting to sacrifice as many units as he can to Nurgle by fighting in the midst of this. He is a sorcerer lord, but I mean chaos sorcerer lords are still pretty darn fighty, like vampires. Well, maybe not to the degree of vampires, but still pretty darn fighty, and thus he should still be able to make a difference in melee, even while he continues to cast. Alright, Plague Claw catapults have thus far still not stopped firing, though it looks like most of the enemy melee troops have made it into the fray now. First of our units of Marauders will rout before the enemy Tomb King and Skeleton Spears, and they will rout with, what, 80% of their HP, and 1 out of 120 units lost only. So this is the issue, this is the problem for this army right now. They just will not stay and hold the line. Really gotta get some upgrades for stuff in order to get them to do so. At the very least, while the Marauders rout, the Soul Grinders can continue anchoring the line, or becoming the line, as they have no other choice. Over in the background, unfortunately, the enemy has popped the 3rd level of the Realm of Souls and has summoned the unit of Ushabti directly on top of our units of Rattling Guns, or one of our units of Rattling Guns. This, of course, means that the Rattling Guns are done, and we had no units to spare to guard them. Another unit of Marauders will rout. This is not a Slaaneshi army, rout, and also have only lost 1 unit so far. Damn you, Marauders, come back. I mean, obviously both of these units will come back, but the fact that they rout with 80% HP, And only one unit lost is pretty sad. In fact, all 5 of our units of Marauders are currently routing. We are almost overrun, folks. It's going to be close. Looks like the second unit of Rattling Guns has also been charged by an enemy unit of Chariots. And they are pretty shaken, so they're in a bad way. And our Lord is wavering as well, though the balance of power does remain roughly 50-50. On the bright side, over in the background, the enemy's Screaming Skull Catapults are basically destroyed, and heck, our Horsemen are basically destroyed, and the enemy Casket of Souls are gone, so the enemy at least has no artillery support. And as soon as those guys are done, we'll be able to join the fray with the doggos as well. Some Legion of the Asp Skeleton Archers, looking pretty good, by the way. Yeah, these guys look great. The models I'm in. Fighting some Chaos Spawn, though probably not fighting all that much longer. Looks like some of our Marauders are coming back. And I guess for now they're in the right place with the Skaven, since they rout like Skaven, having only lost one of their number. Yes, I'm going to keep mocking them for it. I don't imagine the Dark Gods would be too happy with that kind of routing. At the very least, our Soul Grinders continue to hold. I believe one of them was starting to melt away for a couple of seconds there, but it was kept alive by the Chaos War Shrine and from the repeated casting of Chant here, who just constantly gets the healing passive up and running with his spells. And he's also doing a great job at holding several enemy units back, and at least he prevented them from getting into the catapults a lot earlier. Sadly, though, the enemy has reached our catapults now. Both of our units of Rattlings are now done and out. We did manage to get one of our units of routing doggos back, though, and they have managed to destroy the chariots and protect this Plague Claw catapult, which, while wavering, should still be able to fire. There's a unit of Nehekar warriors here as well, but one of our returning units of Marauders has moved back in. Another unit of Marauders has routed and returned, and I think this is the second set of routes for these guys. Our Soul Grinders are now moving into position together. Sort of, well, not quite a last stand for them perhaps, but in desperation we cluster them around our healing War Shrine. They will be provided constant healing by this thing, and will hopefully be able to hold the ground. And our Lord should frankly be here as well, especially to benefit from the healing, but also to repeatedly cast Miasma Pestilence on these enemies. But at the same time, he's trapped in several piles of enemy infantry, so not much we can do about that. More doggos and more Marauders are coming back. And it looks like the battle has finally shifted completely in our favor, though it was very, very close and down to the wire. Our backline was completely overrun and only this one unit of Plague Claws remained, while frankly our main line was also overrun and due to all of our units routing. Finally, the enemy Tomb King collapses by the looks of it. Oh, look at him roll over. Disintegrating, and due to the army losses, and now it's just a matter of cleaning up whatever other units remain. Great job to the Soul Grinders for managing to hold on for so long, though I think 3 of them were down below half HP and a couple of them began to disintegrate. But we did manage to hold. Got to love all that healing between the Children of Nurgle and the Giver of Abundant Glory from the War Shrine, and we just keep them all together with the War Shrine. And this is why it was so necessary to build the War Shrine here rather than rely on multiple, on just Soul Grinders alone, because you're going to get a lot more mileage out of 5 Soul Grinders and 1 War Shrine than you will out of 6 Soul Grinders. Anyway, a close victory, very close indeed, but looks like we managed to pull it off. I guess what remains to be seen is will we be able to pull it off again? Oh, alright. Well, we did survive, but it was certainly a toughie. A close victory. Several of the soul grinders got really badly beat up. But the real big issue right now for this army is leadership. As odd as that may seem, considering all of our other armies have never really had an issue with leadership, this army just seems to rout at the drop of a hat. The doggos and the marauders in particular will just book it on out of there, and we can't really expect weapons teams or artillery crews, and especially crewed by Skaven, and not to rout either. So we really need leadership bonuses. I would actually love to get the XP, but since we just landed, we can't. We have to occupy. We have no choice in the matter. Now, what we need to see... Okay, I don't see a second army nearby, or at least I don't see one from here. But there could be one at Doomglade, and potentially several armies could attack us at once. I will think about it, but there may be potential to maybe get a Great Unclean one in here. Maybe even temporarily, but to help hold the line. Though on the other hand, I suppose another Soul Grinder would make more sense. We don't have any more of them on... up and running, do we? We could get one at the end of the turn. And by... Oh, in fact, we could get one right now if we wanted to. Alright, fine. Get grotesque mechanisms. I think we'll go for another soul grinder. We may very well need it here. Now, these guys aren't yet ready to go into... Oh. Ah, damn, this is a Chaos Wharf. I was hoping we could get an Exalted Hero here, but we can't. We'll need to go to the next territory. Yeah, well, what are you gonna do? I guess the Marauders. So we'll take... I was gonna say the two hurt-to-most ones, but they're named, and I really don't want to redo the names. I'm just gonna try to remember. The Trenchfoot and Tarnished Legion. Trenchfoot and Tarnished Legion. Oh, the named ones survived. Well, that's lovely. We'll get rid of this Marauder unit. And we'll immediately get a 5th Soul Grinder in here. This is the Soul Grinder / Nurgle Artillery Army, after all. We just really need these guys to become Chaos Warriors of Nurgle as soon as possible. You're gonna need Dominating Presence immediately for that character leadership aura. And I guess the question is, do we go for Warp Fire, which will give 4 melee defense to our Soul Grinders, which are the linchpin of the army, or 4 melee attack? I'm gonna say Soul Grinder buffs are more necessary, especially since at the next level it'll also give them missile strength as well, so they a little bit double dip into that sort of stuff. Alright, and we already have the banners in this army as well, so that's not gonna help. Alright, Chant. You survived. Let's see if you live to fight another day. Ooh, hopefully this guy doesn't besiege us. But we can't, if we leave the territory, it'll be a problem as well. We could go out to sea and allow him to attack Lieras or retake Lieras. You know, I think we stay here and we just, well, we hope he survives. Anyway, Archie. So with regards to Archie, I think we are indeed going to go to Prague. I think at the end of the day, the extra turn that's wasted doing this isn't going to be that big of a deal. Plus, it'll enable us to get to the endgame a little bit sooner and allow the other armies to move around a little bit. So yeah, Archie, go over there. Oh, right. You can always be in whatever stance. That doesn't matter. Just go. Go here. We'll send you to Prague next turn. This will mean ignoring these guys, but that's fine. We'll get back to the Empire afterwards. I think we have to prioritize the 2 Dark Fortresses, and ooh... If we could take out Throg, that would actually be swell. I have to wonder whether he's moving to Kislev. Actually, I'd love for Throg and Archie to duel, because Throg's a pretty darn solid combatant. Be nice. Anyway, for now, let's keep moving everybody else around. Gulator, you have to go to Brass Keep, so just sit here for 1 more turn, I think. As in the end of this turn and then the end of next turn? Yeah, 2 turns, alright. They won't be fighting for a couple turns, just sort of sit outside there. It's a little bit annoying, but, well, it'll be worth it to get the last of our collection on field. Hey, you, sir, Kuchar, land at the Tower of Stars and take it for the glory of Khorne, and then head to the Tower of the Sun. And then I guess we'll find out whether we can actually get the elves. Really medium casualties for this. Oh, this is gonna hurt, isn't it? This is gonna hurt. All right, I'm gonna, yeah. I'm gonna just quickly go through this. I don't want this to damage us so heavily that we have a difficult time taking the last settlement, since the last settlement will be walled and it'll be a minor issue. Maybe I could have done this between the episodes, but I hadn't figured that this wouldn't be auto-resolvable. I figured it would be low casualties, but apparently game doesn't like that. Not to worry, we go through this pretty quick. And especially with those, with the annoyance of the skull cannons. Start deployment, please. We'll keep the skull cannons right. I mean, we could just deploy. You know what? Everybody deploy up here. Everybody deploy up here. Like so. Like so. Guard the flanks, and you guard the flanks as well. Doggos. I'll say 3 hidden in this area. There is a decent amount of enemy archers on field, and we'll hide another set. I guess we could hide them all here. I was going to send a couple to hunt down the Illyrian Reavers, but I'd like a few to hit the enemy in the back, so let's put you 2 here. We'll see if we actually get any mileage out of them. Chariots, stay right there. Stay right... Okay, good. I want to make sure that you are hidden, and then the rest of you all can go right here, including the 2 blood shrines. I mean, I guess we could keep one with the... Oh, the blood shrines can't be hidden. They're too big. It's a little bit surprising. They're not that much bigger than a chariot, but I guess, well, whatever. Alright, start battle. Move you all out and have you destroy those Illyrian Reavers right quick. I'm gonna speed through this while we attack them. Like so. And get them down to about half HP ASAP, please, so that we can get Chaotic Torrent up and running. Nearly there, and one more volley, I think, by the looks of it. Ah, damn, a unit of Illyrian Reavers. Okay, you guys back away. Hopefully you won't get Hey, back away, back away. What are you doing? Alright, now. Good. Alright, you guys switch fire upon enemy range units. We'll have you fire on the Lothern Seaguard next. And I do believe there were some white lines in here as well. You guys, get moving. And we'll see where the enemy Illyrian Reavers go. Gotta watch out for the white lines as well. The rest of our army doesn't really need to fight all that much. Alright, you guys can now back off. Enemy sufficiently annoyed. Well, maybe not sufficiently, but at least annoyed. Alright, and damn, the Chaos Spawn have gone into Rampage. Well, you know what? At the very least, they are distracting the enemy. Let's speed it up a little bit. Let the enemy close the distance. Alright, you guys get a couple volleys off on the enemy. Cornate Warriors and Blood Shrines. Gotta get you ready to move. Group 2. Kuchar and your Minion Lord, move out. You guys back up a little bit so that you're not fired upon. Doggos and Chariots, get ready to go. We can summon Forsaken on field now. Keep distracting those Phoenix Guard. If they're not in the field, or on field, that certainly works for us. You guys get ready to head downhill. I wanted the elevation advantage, but it looks like it won't be super necessary here. Alright, Lothar and Seaguard are going to be a little bit annoying. Is there an enemy lord here? Yes, indeed there is. You, sir. Try to avoid getting too badly damaged by those white lines. Alright, it's time to go. Time to go, time to go. You can Glittering Robe this guy. Kuchar, you can continue to fight. Good, and then you guys fire and back off. Lovely. Chariots. Hit the back of those Lothar and Seaguard. I would like you to hit those Illyrian Reavers, but I think maybe one of you to move away. Don't let them hit the Chariots. Alright. And okay, you guys are looking good to me. Alright, you guys back off. Those damn Seaguard. Alright, that's fine. And fire on those white lines, please. Doggos, hit the enemy in the back, or actually, you know what? Chase down this unit. We'll let the Chariots hit those High Elven archers. And you guys... you know what? I was gonna have you hit the Lothar and Seaguard, but hit the Reavers in the back until they die. Hit them until they die. The ultimate plan. Alright, no damaging spells, so that's fine. Kuchar, you are going to activate your buffs, especially to buff everybody up nearby. Let's get the Blood Shrines backing up a little bit so they don't get ripped apart by the Illyrian, or not the Illyrian Reavers, the White Lions. Alright, everybody's getting chased down. You can now hit the enemy in the back line. You give chase. The other 2 doggos move on in. I was going to have them hit these guys, but it looks like it's no longer all that necessary. Kuchar, I would like you to chase down the enemy noble. Not quite a lord, but close enough. And we're pretty much good here. Alright, give chase, give chase. You guys can no longer fire, but you can move into melee. Well, okay, no longer fire isn't quite the case, but yeah, go, go, go. All of you hit the Phoenix Guard at the same time, and battle's ours. Alright, at least this way we didn't suffer any casualties. Okay, fine, we suffered 2 casualties, but certainly not whatever, like, half the army that the auto-resolve would have destroyed. I'd actually be curious to know who actually died. Let's see. One of them was an Illyrian Reaver kill, so it was probably one of the doggos. And the Phoenix Guard only killed useless stuff because we were distracting them with the Forsaken and the Chaos Spawn, and the same with this unit of White Lions. Probably one of the Chaos Warriors. Alright. We will just occupy, don't bother sacking it. Lovely. And another other Trickster's Shard. I think this is the 3rd one or 4th one we get. Always nice, and there we go. Cougar will be at full HP. So he'll be able to hit the Tower of the Sun, not in one turn, but shortly. And these guys have moved it up to tier 4, so if we can subjugate elves, I'm not sure that we can, but if we can, it'll be at a good high tier. Siggy. Sarah's nearby. I'm willing to bet she won't fight, however. And I probably should have taken off that channeling stance. Whatever. Yeah, she's not going to fight anyway, so the question is, can we hunt her down? And by the looks of it, we can. So go to regular stance, go right here, and then have Tamar Painbringer move in. Oh. Well, let me guess, the auto-resolve will kill off our these guys. Also, I should probably make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I wanted 8. You should be a Chaos Warrior of Slaanesh. We'll keep you for... We don't really need 9, but you know what? You can be a Chaos Warrior as well. And actually, now that I think about it, it's gonna be quite costly, but... You guys can all be chosen now. We should start racking up the XP on them. Are chosen significantly slower? No, they're not any slower at all. Well, despite the extra expense, chosen time. Now they'll all have Soporific Musk on them. Though they've lost, look at the armor difference right now. At level 0, or 1, I guess, tier 1. Now level 1. 1 Chevron, 1 Veteran, so unit... Oh, unit rank is 0. I lied. I thought it would start at 1, but whatever. Let's see. 122 armor versus 172 armor. Big difference. Big difference indeed. How close are you to Chosen? Rank 7? That's going to take you some time to get there. But anyway, free XP is free XP. You. Attack. Hopefully these guys won't die, but we're about to find out. And all 4 will die. Really? This? Is this worth fighting? Well, you know what? I guess, if nothing else, we'll be able to see the Chosen fight, which we haven't yet. Or the Chosen of Slaanesh we haven't yet. And we haven't seen the Soul Grinders of Tzeentch yet. Even though this is unnecessary, but nonetheless. Alright, here we go. The Chosen have been chosen, and it's time for them to get to work, as well as our 2 new Soul Grinders of Tzeentch. These are the ones that have the magical javelins, which makes them pretty darn good at sniping units. I believe they're multiple projectile type, number of projectiles 5. And they're really quite good at destroying single entities and low model count entities, for example, the Great Eagles and the Enemy Lords, so that's going to be their target, though we'll probably take a couple of shots at the infantry just to compare effectiveness as well. As usual, Sigvald way ahead of the rest of his army, though of course the Chosen and the Chaos Warriors are no slouches, moving at 63-ish speed. Pretty darn quick, and certainly able to keep pace more or less with the Soul Grinders. They're gonna head to combat while the Soul Grinders set up on this hill to begin chucking their javelins at the enemy. There we go, leading javelin followed by the secondary projectiles, and away they go. I assume you can't have the camera follow this type of projectile. Alright, and this one's going to smash into this line of infantry. This actually works fairly decently, as this line of infantry is, Silverian Guard to be specific, is standing sort of parallel to the shot. Which works. So the single volley knocked out 0 troops, surprisingly. I would have actually expected it to kill off a few of them, but did they maybe 10 to 15% damage in terms of their HP. Gonna get a couple more volleys just for fun, just because we can, and just because the enemy is facing us in such a way where it is advantageous to do so. But we'll afterwards switch fire to non-infantry targets. Like so. And ooh, the rocks are just saving the eagles there. That's a little bit unfortunate, but it looks like the eagles will turn away from Sigvald fairly shortly anyway. Yeah, they're not going to do it on cue, but turn away they will, because they have no chance at dealing with them. Oh, look at them run. They're adorable. Alright, and if we can't target the eagles, well, we can target the eagle. The enemy lord is now the target. We've taken 1 volley at her, and taken about a third of her HP. Here comes another one. There we go. Very nice. Let's see, 2.3k. And another volley. Damn, look at that. Yeah, that's pretty darn effective, I gotta say. And while the enemy lord is out, here come, or the chosen rather, have arrived. They're going to make mincemeat of the enemy very, very quickly here. And looking pretty darn good as well while they do it. That's Slaaneshi armies for you. Here comes the last of Slaanesh through the enemy army as well. I still really wish that the aspiring champions could, even if their stats weren't changing, that they could at least acquire sort of visible changes for the various gods. Actually, I wouldn't be surprised if a mod exists for it in particular. I'm gonna look into that at some point. Alright, well. This enemy army is just about done, just about overrun. Siggy didn't get to duel the enemy lord this time around, but, well, the lord got sniped by the soul grinders, so not a big deal. Looks like a couple more enemy units will be holding here, though probably not for very long, as the rest of their army is very much routing. Not much to say, just a couple more seconds, and there we go. With that, the entire enemy army will shatter. And good job to the Chosen, although frankly, the battle ended so quickly that they didn't really have a chance to get into it, but not to worry. We've still got all of Ulthuan for them to try out their effectiveness, as well as other places for the soul grinders to get to work at, though I may send Bellicor there just for a little while. Once again, just to get that defeat rate for Eltharion for nothing else. If nothing else, that's the one. Anyway, decisive victory for us. Good job to these guys. Alright, very nice, very nice. Soul Grinders of Tzeentch certainly showing off their sniping capabilities as they heavily damaged the eagles and basically killed the enemy lord without said enemy lord getting to react at all, so great job with the sniping. A little bit of work for our Chosen as well, which was nice. And they've started to gain a little bit of XP, which is going to take time before they've got their buffs up to where they were before, but nonetheless, I guess we can sacrifice. There's not really anything else to do here. And I imagine we won't be able to... Yeah, I was hoping that Siggy could move all the way to the edge here, and we would be able to destroy this army, but alas, not the case. I was thinking maybe we could move Tamara there, but we don't know if there's another full stack nearby, and I'd rather not risk the 2 soul grinders. That would be a bad thing. Anyway, Tamar, I guess you also cannot get to Conquata, so just go into channeling stance and stay near to Siggy. You're staying near Conquata anyway, simply for the purpose of getting Bellicor up and running here, because we'll have him start out of Conquat or out of Albion anyway. Alright, who else needs to move? Village, you. What do you got? Ah, yes, we're probably gonna have you fight Skarsnik, which means we can take the minute here. Jaeger, you have to move southward to either help Marathi or help against these armies, depending, so I think you're gonna start moving down here either way. And Demahar, you're kind of in the same position. There's an island here, we can, well, you know what, I'll have Jaeger grab that instead. And Demahar, you need to get to the monoliths where you can start recruiting allied units. Not gifted units, but allied units. ASAP as well. Hopefully we can actually do so. Don't need the Gambler's armor, at least not until you're ready to fight. I'll deal with your items. At that time, Malefax, you need to land. Oh, and we also need to declare war on these guys, don't we? Yeah, sure. Declare war. Hopefully Itza decides not to join the war. They will join the war. Alright, well, screw you too, Itza. Oh well. Alrighty, now this is auto-resolvable. The question is, do we risk an army belonging to the cult of Sotek being nearby? There clearly isn't one at the Dust Gate. You know what? For this one turn, I'm gonna do this, this, and this. The auto-resolve will probably hurt the doggos, but that doesn't matter. We will also want to get, let's say, the Banner of Eternal Flame on the Lord? Sure. And then the Razor Standard on these guys. Auto-resolve. Yeah, that hurt the doggos, but that's fine. We are going to immediately occupy it. Alright, then... what do we see around us? I still don't see a full stack. Then we can get rid of this doggo unit. And we need to figure out what we wanted to put in this army. Oh, damn, I wanted another... Alright, you know what? Let's put a cockatrice in this army for now. Ooh. Or potentially, you know what, we're going to get a lot of mileage out of War Shrine of Nurgle, especially since Malefax is going to evolve into a Demon Prince of Nurgle, which means we wouldn't be able to keep the Chaos War Shrines. For chasing enemies down, instead of the Doggos, we could do Fiends of Slaanesh in here, since this is a sort of joint army. And yes, I know I was going to do a bunch of demons, like greater demons here, but at the same time, it isn't crazy necessary to be here, since we're gonna do a bunch of greater demons in other places as well. And I really want to get the Fiends of Slaanesh on the field since I like the unit. We could do some Skull Cannons and Hell Cannons in here. Man, there's a lot of options. Alright, start with the Chaos War Shrine. And let's get rid of the Hounds of Decay, even though they're great. Let's make these Chaos Trolls into Armored Chaos Trolls for now. I'm probably gonna replace them with Demonic units, but, you know... they should be decently valuable. We'll get rid of the Marauders and the Hounds immediately. And then we'll pop in two of the Fiends of Slaanesh. Easy access to Soporific Musk. Alright, nice little joint army of various types of units, though not a lot of authority, so well, there'll be some problems. Also, Chaos Dwarf means we won't be able to summon anything here, but I guess your heroes are actually fine, so not a big deal. Get your Chaos Vanguard as well, since either way the Chaos Warriors will make up the bulk of the army. And good, Malefax, you've arrived. And you've arrived without getting killed, so good job. Chant, you are not up next. And Narath Magoth, you know what, let's do the fight with Village while we're at it, while we're here. I do like spamming Treason of Tzeentch on you. Is it worth more than... yeah, let's do another point in Treason of Tzeentch. Once again, since he has Mind Wipe, he basically wants to constantly cast it. And overcast it as well. So it's probably more worthwhile than Prismatic Plurality, and we don't really need his yellow line, because Village is basically impossible to kill anyway. Alright, what about you? Describes. Now, we have all of the bigger lores, as well as the Scrolls of the Apocalypse. When's the magic cost reduction for all spells? I guess we'll still want to get all of these. Oh. I want the Wind of Death because Spirit Leech is useful and Soul Blight is quite useful. Don't really care about the others. Fate of Buna on occasion, but generally speaking, if we're gonna cast something like Fate of Buna, we'd probably cast a bigger spell to kill more units, and then the single type. Although there are rare situations where it would be coming in handy. Hish. You know, we do like the armor that it offers. Is it better than Azir? I'm gonna say Hish. I guess we could also go Ulgu. You know what? Pit of Shades. Let's go Ulgu and Shyish. That completes all the vampiric lures at the very least, since we already have the dead magic. Alright, that looks good to me. And then Jaeger Mortkin. You have Glittering Robe maxed out, which is the main thing that we have you for. I would like you to get magical reserves so that we have more magics available to this army. We are currently at 175, which is pretty nice. Is 200 the max right now? I'm pretty sure there is a max. You can't get like 1,000,000 Winds of Magic Power Reserve, can you? There used to be a max, I'm pretty sure. I just don't remember what it is. Village. Assuming that... Do we have to... I'm just gonna help these guys occupy the place without being told to do so. Village, go into summoning and hit the Karaz, please. What do we have here? Close victory, but it is low casualties. Well, you know what, if it's low casualties, then maybe it isn't worth fighting. I mean, it's not going to be nearly as tough as Beric Var, for example. Yeah, alright, fine. I'll resolve this, and it's gonna take like half our army, but whatever. Ooh, the weird spawn, yeah, well. Then we're gonna sack the place. And like so, a trickster, sure, that's lovely. And another student, another collector, and another slave master. You guys can't level yet. I wanted to send village after this guy, but now I'm just realizing he will probably run. I wanted to send village elsewhere, but he can't actually reach anywhere else. Alright, fine, village, then I guess you're gonna occupy the place. And then a Narath, you're just going to... There's basically no defenders at Beric Var. I actually wanted to send him to grab Stone Mine, which you could still do from here. Alright, you know what? And then just sit there. Sit there and get a few extra units. Relatively cheap as they are here. Just whatever garbage you can find. We're nearly negative income again, but, well, hopefully we'll fix that. In fact, we might go negative income this turn, depending. What I want to do is this. Arcane Wisdom. Briefly switch to... I forget, did I get the Cockatrice in this army, or did I not? I did not. I got the Chaos Warshrine. Okay, wait. Need to figure out what units we need extras of. Because Chant, you are going to get 2 Cockatrices and 2 Lords of Change, which is minus 2,000 gold. 199. That's actually, we will go negative this turn. And I would like you... Well, I suppose we're still going to have to prioritize Krakadrak. I was going to say maybe grab Frozen Landing, but no, Krakadrak has to take priority. I guess we'll take Sioktraken on the way to Krakadrak. And then hopefully Throg either stays at Prague or goes to Kislev, where an Archaon can destroy his army, and then quickly take both of the Dark Fortresses, and maybe with their armies destroyed and their main territories fallen, they'll easily join the fold. And Narath, Magath, you don't need to move. Tech Thieves, the new Tech Thieves. I summoned a couple more, in case that was not clear. Alright, you go here. Ooh, oh, Altdorf, yeah. Good job to... Ooh, 45. Okay, I'm not gonna risk that. Good job to Vlad. But once again, I kind of preferred to fight the Empire of Undeath anyway. You're gonna get Specialist. Looks good. Alright, Glugmir, you are getting at least one more Beast of Nurgle from allies. Not from the Pox Makers, though, but from the Magath Kin, but not right now. Okay, fine, we'll have to wait on that one. And it's alright. Master of Seals, our superior tech thief. I guess you can steal from Beckhoffen. I guess it's time to start annoying Sylvania, if nothing else. There you go. And Urkathal Deathcaller, you, sir, are headed to Valkia. To be her, Guess we're moving this way. To be her second exalted hero. Why this guy instead of the guy that died or that got assassinated? This guy has attribute Vanguard deployment for Juggernaut mounts and Skull Crushers units. And that's what we want. I still wanted the Chosen buff, but it's not as necessary as the Vanguard deployment, because otherwise this army doesn't have full Vanguard deployment. I mean, I guess the Bloodthirsters never will be, but, well, what can you do? Alrighty. That looks like that's it for this turn, doesn't it? Assuming, again, we don't need to move this guy, which I believe we don't. Oh, we can also build you and then repair you. Let's go to buildings, then. Anything we need to... There is nothing we need to build. Okay, perfect. Gifts of Chaos. Death's Bounty cannot be switched. Crown of Kings does not need to be switched. And everything else, I do believe, is fine. We could switch Arcane Wisdom for the turn if we like. Get another Soul Grinder. We could get more Cockatrices. I do believe I potentially wanted at least one unit of Screamers. Ah, sure, go for the Screamers. And we'll immediately take that Warp Fire buff back afterwards. Path to Glory available, who cares? And Diplomacy, and then end the turn. Trade. Warhost of Jar. Ooh, 1,000 Miles really want this, eh? They really, really do. Still no on the vassalage, eh? 29. And not for money. Well, we'll work on it. We'll work on it. It should be possible. We just need to get a good territory near them. And there should be one. Sentinels of Jati isn't... Yeah, it is the 1,000 Maz. Would they take the Golden Colossus? It is... if only it had a port. But it is a main settlement, so maybe they would. Alright, anyway. That looks like that's good to me. And the turn. I'm very curious to see where Throg goes right now. And we're also in a couple of interesting positions where we may get attacked. That's an... I'm going to say no to the trade agreement for now. The reason for this being that we want as much worth out of the trade agreement for potentially getting the 1,000 Maws vassalized. Court of Lieras will indeed attack, and damn, they did have another army nearby. Well, good for them. Good for them indeed. Alright, Chant, you, sir, are really earning your stripes here, so keep on going. There's a Bone Giant to contend with, and sadly, I would imagine that the Doggos will not be able to contend with it, but they'll probably have other things to do, as those Screaming Skull Catapults there. Thing that's interesting about the Screaming Skull Catapults as well is they're actually fairly decent at working the working single entities, so they can still heavily damage or kill our Soul Grinders if we're not careful. They're not as good at that as killing blobs of units, but they're much better at it than something like a Plague Claw Catapult is, so gotta watch out for that, especially as they're high veterancy, and that Discouraged thing is really something the demons don't like. But anyway, Chant, let's see if you survive, sir. Alrighty, here we go. Chant, 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 chant. It's a do or die for you yet again. Several very tough fights for him against the Tomb Kings. The third very tough fight for him against the Tomb Kings of the Court of Lieras in particular. And we'll see if we can manage to pull this one off as well. Anyway, we are going to move all the Soul Grinders up ahead of the army and begin bombardment of the enemy infantry lines. The idea here is that the enemy will wait for their reinforcements, so we have about a minute of the ability to freely fire at whatever infantry we can. That said, the enemy can fire at us as well. Chant will try to move in to cast a spell or two at the enemy line, specifically a stream of corruption, but he will be targeted by that Bone Giant. Fortunately, the Bone Giant's shots are relatively easy to dodge. And the Screaming Skull Catapults are out of range of the Soul Grinders, so not super threatening there. Oh, it looks like the enemy has realized that the Bone Giant is probably not going to get too many hits on the... Oh, actually, I think that one might have hit. No, still missed. Stagger shot. I think the explosion conferred the debuff, but Chant will get chased by Sepulchral Stalkers, who will get staggered by all of our Soul Grinders firing at them at once. Once the enemy Sepulchral Stalkers is no longer chasing Chant, we can return to firing on the enemy main line. Unfortunately, with the enemy infantry so slow, it'll take them a while to get to us, especially if the enemy wants to maintain the cohesion of its army. By the looks of it, we have managed to heavily damage at least a few of the enemy Tomb Guard units. 3 of them are down to somewhere between 30 and 10% HP, and a couple more hits should at least start a couple of them disintegrating, unless we maybe want to switch to a few other units. Pretty darn good use of the Soul Grinders we got this time around as well. Usually they don't come anywhere near to running out of ammunition, but they should at least get to around half in this particular battle. Looks like the enemy reinforcements have arrived as well. I did decide to try to take a couple shots at the Necropolis Knights, but by the looks of it, it's a bit of a waste. Not much of a point in doing so, as the Soul Grinders just don't do enough damage to them to make it worthwhile compared to firing upon infantry. But it should still have been tested. And just in case. It's sort of like the Screaming Skull Catapults, where you don't expect them to do decent against single targets, but surprisingly, they do. Anyway, the bombardment continues, but it looks like the anthill has been kicked, and the enemy is annoyed enough to start moving towards us. Chant has continued to be hit by the Bone Gen, and looks like has dropped to about half of his HP at this point. Couple more volleys from the Soul Grinders by the looks of it, and then we're going to have to get them to back off. We do also have the Screaming Skull Catapults, but they had to stay as far back as we can. And speaking of staying far back, this time I did decide to deploy, well, obviously not at the edge of the map, a little bit further back than we normally would, just so that we could essentially fire on the enemy and then back off and fire again with the Soul Grinders, sort of acting like skirmishers in this particular situation. Ooh, another hit on Chant by the looks of it. Attacked by artillery, yeah, we can see that. Alright, Soul Grinders back off and fire again. Fortunately, they're fairly quick at charging up and firing, so they can run, turn, gun, and then run. And there we go. They fired, they back up, they reload, they fire again. And once again, because the enemy army does seem to be trying to move with its relatively slow infantry mobs, we are able to do this repeatedly. Alright, some very nice hits there. These Nehekar warriors, I believe, are close to full HP, or at least pretty up there, and have dropped to about half, which ain't too bad. Maybe we can get another volley before we turn again. Although at this point, unlike before, we are switching targets now. This was definitely a full HP unit. Unfortunately, skeleton horsemen are very fragile. Not even sure it's worth taking a volley at them, but take one. We did. Now the enemy has arrived, or reached to the point at least where our Plague Claws can fire at them. We also have a tiny amount of units from the garrison that we're going to keep out here, essentially to block the enemy off while the Soul Grinders back off. We don't care if every single one of the units from the garrison dies, down to a man. Alright, well, we've certainly softened up the enemy army. The question is, will it be enough? Despite the damage they have taken, the balance of power is still only about 25% in our favor, which is iffy. The Bone Giant and the Screaming Skull Catapults are also trying to move in to the range of our army, but fortunately we have hidden 3 units of our Hounds of Decay over on this side in this little pile of trees, and they will move out now to hopefully destroy all 4 enemy Screaming Skulls. But obviously, that's not where the battle will be decided. Lots of Necro Serpents on the field between the enemy Sepulchral Stalkers and Necropolis Knights. Hopefully we can dish out a decent amount of damage to them with our rattling guns, although they're now right now focused on this enemy Tomb Prince. Alright, not much to say as yet as the enemy continues moving forward. Although it looks like a flanking maneuver has been stopped in its tracks by a combination of our one unit of doggos that we did keep back behind the army specifically for this purpose, while the other three move towards the enemy artillery and a unit of marauders. I'm sure the marauders will take at least a little bit of damage from our rattling guns. Although we can hope that the rattling guns will fire over them, but they're positioned, were positioned decently well for this until a unit of skeleton chariots charge through them. We do send a soul grinder to keep them in their tracks, or stop them in their tracks and keep them in their place, while the rattling guns will hopefully back off, reposition, and fire again. We have the Tarnished Legion Marauders blocking off the enemy Tomb King, and we're going to move Chant in to help out against him, while the rest of our line attempts to hold. Our Marauders have moved in, and of course, just like the last time Chant's army fought, we expect them to rout fairly quickly. The benefit of having all the Marauders, though, is that sacrifice ability that we have, massively increasing our melee attack by a plus 30, I think? Is it plus 30? Yeah, plus 30, and a little bit of leadership is really needed as well. 3 soul grinders here, once again clustered around that war shrine. It did make me think that it might be valuable to get 2 war shrines so that we didn't have to rely on a single cluster to anchor the line like this. But I also don't want to go too heavily on the war shrines. I mean, I know that they're good for Nurgle armies, but I also don't want armies to be too similar to each other. And I like maximum soul grinders, and this is a very artillery/range army anyway, so yeah, anyway. Looks like this rattling gun unit will be able to fire for a little while at least, and hopefully knock out a few of those Necro Serpents or Necropolis Knights. And we just gotta be careful about the enemy targeting the War Shrine, as it is critical to our victory here. Some of the enemies got range units of their own, as Sepulchral Stalkers will take shotgun shots at our piles of Marauders here, and by the looks of it, at our Chaos War Shrine as well. Really gotta be careful there. The flanks are still embroiled in fights, though this is, I believe, the second unit of Necropolis Knights. Though it does seem that the Marauders work fairly well together with the Doggos. It allows the Marauders essentially to take a lot of damage for the Doggos, while the Doggos can periodically back off and then charge back into combat and then surround individual units of Necropolis Knights to bring them down. Looks like the enemy Tomb King has fallen, unless I'm mistaken, though there's a Tomb Prince here to deal with as well. He did keep both our Soul Grinder and Chant in that Curse of Jeff rampage for a while, which was a little bit annoying as we couldn't cast or anything while that was happening. Fortunately, our line is still holding, if barely so. The Nehekara warriors here have reached one of our units of Plague Claws, unfortunately, but I believe the second one, which has also been reached by Nehekara warriors, should be relatively safe, as 2 of the units of Marauders have returned from rallied, I should say, and are back into the fight. And of course, our anchor, our main blob, is still holding as well. All 3 soul grinders just once again around that war shrine where they can get that healing. We did try to send our doggos to deal with the bone giant, but yeah, the bone giant was too good, unfortunately, in melee, and the hound stood no chance at bringing it down. Not to worry though, we'll peel them away and have them hunt down Necropolis Knights and Sepulchral Stalkers instead, as that is most definitely something they can do, though not one-on-one perhaps. Well, we're not going to make it a one-on-one, as 2 units get this unit of Necropolis, or Sepulchral Stalkers, together. And of course our Plague Claw catapults continue firing as well. There's a unit of Legion of the Asp here, and we definitely want to bring these guys down. Gotta stop them from poisoning us. We're the only ones allowed to poison things here. A Miasma Pestilence will come down in the big blob as well, which is another good reason to do this sort of thing. It's not quite a Death Star perhaps, but with most of the enemy's strength concentrated around these 3 Soul Grinders and the War Shrine, that means we can hit a very solid portion of the enemy army with that Miasma Pestilence. Our 2 other Soul Grinders that were on the flanks, one actually backed off over there because it was nearly dead, have moved back in as the enemy flanking maneuver has failed. both to get through the Soul Grinders and to get through the Sick of the Litter and this unit of Marauders. So, good job to all of those. The balance of power has shifted to about 50-50 at this point. Not as good as perhaps we'd like it, but certainly better than the whatever 20% or whatever we started with. A very nice battle. I'm so glad to see such good battles happening, and tough battles, so late into the campaign. Which is certainly showing, I think, why it's fun to run these longer campaigns periodically, as it allows us to continue making newer armies late into the campaign, and those armies will struggle as they come into their own, especially for the Warriors of Chaos who can't build, generally speaking, piles and piles of elite units easily. At least so far away from their Dark Fortresses. And frankly, most of the Dark Fortresses are fairly far. Anyway, balance of power continues creeping in our favor at about 80% now, and it looks like that was enough to get the enemy to begin to melt away. Chant leads the rightmost flank, and still the center of the enemy line remains. The enemy Tomb King also still on that War Sphinx, but a single Soul Grinder and the Lords of Silence here managed to hold him off. We have so many Soul Grinders of Nurgle in this army, I'm wondering whether we should forego specifically Soul Grinders of Nurgle in Be'lakor's army, so we could have the others shine a little bit. But I'll think about it. I mean, we only have room for 6 Gifts of Chaos anyway. Certainly something to be considered. Anyway, with that, the enemy main stack melts away, or at least 90% of their army melts away, though that Bone Giant is still on the field, and by the looks of it will continue taking shots at us. Alright, well, we're gonna fire right back, completely uselessly, though, as neither the Soul Grinders nor the Plague Claw Catapults are going to be able to do much. That said, there is a benefit to this, and the benefit is that these guys can continue staying here while they continue to receive heals from the presence of the Chaos War Shrine, as long as the Bone Giant doesn't out-damage the heals here, and this is actually very much to our benefit. And periodically we can have Chant cast some spells, whatever spells, it doesn't really matter, and just to get those Children of Nurgle heals up and running as well. Alright. And ooh, it looks like one of the Soul Grinders has even reached its healing cap, or at least we've sighted its healing cap. A few more volleys and the battle will be ours. A very long battle as well, I might add. I don't know how long the actual pitched battle lasted, but from the start of the skirmish, it was about 12 minutes straight. Not counting this little engagement or whatever with the Bone Giant here, as the only reason that I didn't decide to move more troops towards him was to allow the Soul Grinders to heal up a little bit. I'd rather not take any more risks with Chant's army, as I've grown very attached to it and I don't want it to die after all this effort. And I'm going to give him a name as well. Well, I'm going to give him a name once he becomes a Demon Prince rather than his current form. Anyway, Bone Giant will take a couple more hits. He's in melee now, fortunately, fighting our garrison troops, or surprisingly, some of the remnants of the garrison troops. And there we go. I can't believe they survived. I think they started with either, I think it was 6 units each? I think it was something like 6 units each, and the fact that they survived is pretty great. But anyway, a heroic victory, man. We've been racking up heroic victories over the last, like, 3 or 4 episodes, I don't know, something episodes, quite a bit, and it's pretty great. Oh, looks like Chant lives to fight another day. Man, he's really earning that demonhood, because we kind of chucked him into the deep end, unsupported with a weak army as well. And, oh, that was why I didn't occupy the territory, did I? Whoops. Yeah, well, that was a problem. Right, that's what happened. Or was it, or I did occupy it and, well, I don't know. Either way, he's, no, we did occupy it. We have the settlement garrison, such as it was, helping us out. But yeah, definitely chucked him into the deep end. Getting a lot of mileage out of the various catapults. Not as much as out of soul grinders, mind you, but they're at least matching the lower performing soul grinders, which is pretty darn decent. Highest performer here had 27k, no, 31k damage, and the lowest performer at 17k. As usual, the doggos are cleaning house, but that's why, well, they've always been a fantastic unit, probably getting an absolutely insane amount of value out of this Chaos War Shrine, as well as that Giver of Abundant Glory in the healing is really, really necessary. Sadly, the 2 units of Rattling Guns didn't do too much in this particular battle, mostly because, well, they were always under threat of the Screaming Skull, so they had to back up, and then they immediately got charged by piles of chariots and the Necropolis Knights. So it was what it was. Anyway, in terms of the infantry, it looks like the winners were these guys at 14k at the Trenchfoot. Very nice. And 17k for Chant as well, so great job to him. We are going to sacrifice, you know what? We're going to kill, no, sacrifice gives us 6 speed, doesn't it? Actually, I always forget which one gives us XP. Or was it just sacking that gives us XP? I guess it doesn't matter. Great job, Chant, and great job surviving. Oh, and he also has no heroes, which has been an issue as well. Defensive Alliance, Festus, you know what's coming, but alas, no Defensive Alliance for you. Hopefully he doesn't manage to take any territory. It looks like Throg has an idea as to what's coming as well. And hopefully he's near to Archie, though I guess we won't find out whether we can, well, I guess we'll find out right now, but, he's right there. And he's in March stance, and we'll have Archaon bring him down next turn, and then head to Prague. And if he can't reach Prague, retake Kislev, and then head to Prague. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Ally mobilizes, ally begins construction. Warherd of the Shadow Gave, sadly, and destroyed now. Our materials at sea are also gone, so we'll need to be more careful with our money. Once again, free razor standard for Chant, and he damn well earned it. Ally occupies settlement World Walkers. Oh, they actually listened for once. Well, good job to them. Nordland secured, which means we can put, they've come to the wrong place here. Ally begins outpost construction. Plunder the plunderers. Raid Ekrund. Unlikely, mostly because we may not even move down here, but even if we do, raiding is generally a waste of time for us. Kolek has arrived, and ooh, Shrine of Sotek is occupied. Oh, interesting. And we could potentially give some of these territories up to these guys then. I wonder how much they'd value Pachwaks. Probably quite a bit. We could also attempt to confederate or vassalize Yuan Bo if we wanted to, though at this point it hardly matters. Anyway, we're obviously out of time, very, very much out of time, and I'm going to have to call the episode here. Next time, we'll probably have to fight Azazel versus Tyrion, because Valkia's just a little bit too far, and we can't just leave him there. Chant still has plenty to do and to survive. We also will be hopefully subjugating these guys, or otherwise Ammon will retake Tor Elisor, which could be of annoyance, let's say. And we will also have Archaon versus Throg, and hopefully acquire those 2 dark fortresses up to the north. Lots more chaos to come, so stay tuned. Don't forget to leave those likes and comments below. The end remains nigh. All glory to the algorithm. And thanks for watching.